does it really matter? But here's the thing: people are making the counter argument that we don't really like the sequel trilogy that much because of one or the other movie messed it up. But they loved The Mandalorian. I feel like I don't think I've heard a lot of people say that they dislike The Mandalorian. One of the only reasons I could hear for it that I've heard of it is that it's not super linear. But I don't know. Have you seen it? What do you think?
Of course I saw it. I saw every single episode day one. That is the best thing of Star Wars outside of Rogue One that Disney's put their hands on. It is phenomenal. The emotions evoked, they created characters that you care about so much and have hilarious one-liners that aren't cheap written by 12-year-olds like the sequel trilogy. And I love the humor in the sequel trilogy. I think it's funny, but this is so much wittier. It's so much funnier. Like even when the IG
spoiler talk. All right, if anyone has not seen The Mandalorian, step out until 6:50 and then come back. We'll be done 7. Come back at 7. We'll be done Mandalorian spoiler talk at 7. So if you don't want to listen to it, come back. All right.
So the IG unit is about to die, and he says, "You're upset," and he goes, "I'm not upset. I'm not going to cry. I'm not emotional." And he goes, I'm a nursery droid. I am programmed to know that you're upset." Like stuff like that is just so witty and so funny.
Yeah.
Baby Yoda choking the girl was literally one of the funniest moments. Like they're just arm wrestling, and he doesn't know he's a baby, and he just thinks, "You're hurting my friend. How could you do this?" And so he just starts choking her with the Force. Like,
okay, let's be clear.
So many
he's
moments
50 years old. He should know better.
Yeah, that's true. I guess. But I loved it. I thought it was well thought out. Well, like I said, well planned. Jon Favreau always has a plan.
Jon Favreau
and always makes great movies. And even if they're not great movies, you want to see. Like the most recent Lion King, I don't think was a great movie, but it was very well made, and I wanted to see it, and I enjoyed watching it. I think if I'm gonna watch a Lion King again, I'm gonna watch the original. But he made Iron Man, he made Elf, and now I think he made the new MCU. Not like not the new MCU, but I think this is gonna rival MCU
absolutely.
for TV. Because can you imagine if they make more of these series that even connect? Like some of this takes place on Tatooine. What if young Mandalorian runs into Obi-Wan in the Obi-Wan series? Stuff like that can happen to where it is going to be, I hope it's going to be the TV series version of the MCU. And I think they could do it by how they've established this.
And I think that's their intention. I honestly think. I think that they're trying to do something like that. He's just, we gotta remember, like, Jon Favreau started the MCU in a lot of ways. You know, he pioneered Iron Man, and that set it up. Granted, they didn't know what it was going to become, but he's got a good track record. And let's not forget the unsung hero of the Mandalorian, which is Taika Waititi. Now, do you know who Taika Waititi is?
You cut out.
Sorry,
I missed you.
Taika Waititi.
Talking about I Had Spoken?
No, I'm talking.
I Have Spoken. Is that Ugnaught?
No, he was pretty great. But no, Taika Waititi directed the final episode of.
Oh, the final episode was great.
No, I'm sorry. Which episode was it that there was the two stormtrooper troopers talking to each other? Which is, by the way, the best moment.
And they the one hits Yoda in the back of the head. Not Baby Yoda. I need to start calling him the child. For a long time, I called him Baby Yaddle because that's Yoda and Yaddle combined. So I'm not a huge fan of saying Baby Yoda, but nobody ever knows what you're talking about when you say anything else. No. And
wait, you cut out for a second. You back with us? Did we lose you?
For a second.
Yeah, we lost you. All right, you're back. You're back.
I'm here. I'm losing you for some reason.
Huh. Okay. Are you?
See
if you. We'll keep talking. See if it gets better.
There we go. I got it. I got it.
All right.
We're back now.
All right. Cool. So what were you saying? What episode was that? Was that episode? What was that? Episode 7 or 8?
I believe that's episode 8. That's the last one.
Okay, so that was directed by Taika Waititi. He also directed Thor Ragnarok and the best
MCU movie, in my opinion.
Well, he directed not only the best MCU movie, but also the best. I'm excluding Infinity War and Endgame, which are my top two. But Thor Ragnarok is the best not ensemble Marvel movie, in my opinion. I mean, it is in some ways an ensemble.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But like that movie was pure genius. But he also directed what I think many people agree is the best movie of 2019, which is Jojo Rabbit. Now, if you have not seen Jojo Rabbit, here's another plug. Jojo Rabbit is the must-see movie of 2019. If you have not seen Jojo Rabbit,
Haven't seen it.
you're doing yourself a disservice. Yeah, you should absolutely see it. It is unbeatable.
I'll go see it. I've seen most of the 2019 best movies. I haven't seen Jojo Rabbit.
To be clear, he did a fantastic job of making this plot. Now, I'm going to tell you the plot. Have you seen the trailer or anything of it?
I don't know anything about.
Okay, so
Scarlett Johansson's in it.
So Jojo Rabbit is about a little kid that is a avid Nazi enthusiast in World War II Germany, okay, whose best friend is imaginary Adolf Hitler, played by the director Taika Waititi.
Oh, you know what? I do know a lot about this movie. Yeah, I want to go see this. It seems like, or I want to see it. I know it's out of theaters.
It's not even just like
amazing.
It pulls on your heartstrings. It is an amazing laugh, and then it makes you cry. It's literally the amount of emotion he's allowed to give to that, and it just speaks levels in his abilities that we see in The Mandalorian, and the fact that he's giving more responsibility is in Lucasfilm is incredible. Like that's what he really showed that he knows what he's doing in that franchise. And so that's why it's really, before, I don't want to even get too much into it, but Taika Waititi is also said to be directing a new Star Wars movie.
Yeah, I've heard some about that. I didn't know a lot of his credentials, but judging off of what he did in the last episode of Mandalorian, he just has a real knowledge for how Star Wars needs to flow. And the inclusion of the Darksaber at the end was one of the best moves that series
Absolutely.
did as a whole.
Oh yes, that was
so.
Yeah, to show that like they actually. That's okay. So that's the thing is with the sequel trilogy and now the Mandalorian. Like a lot of that was showing that they didn't care about Legends, or honestly canon in general, right? Like,
Yeah.
Even within the trilogy, it broke canon. But Mandalorian seems to be the first time that they're saying, "Hey, we care about canon. We do care about Legends. We're gonna make a fan what the fans want," which is hard because can you make Star Wars fans happy? I don't really know if that's a realistic thing. I don't know. But
I think it's impossible because it's you're now on 3, arguably 4 generations of Star Wars. It's going to be impossible to completely please everyone, but if you look at something like I mentioned this before, Knights of the Old Republic, any Star Wars, a Star Wars fan who knows the canon or knows that game and knows the story, probably outside of Empire Strikes Back, the story I've told. So I think that's one great uniter is that all Star Wars fans would tell you amazingly written and directed story for that game. But outside of that, I've met people that don't like, and these people just, I would be fine if they just disappeared, that don't like the original trilogy. You don't.
I feel like do you even like
there
Star
are people
Wars
that don't like the original trilogy.
Yeah.
They are hardcore Star Wars fans. They love the sequel trilogy and they love the Clone Wars, and they don't like the original trilogy. So yeah, it is hard to unite people, but I think this is outside of Knights of the Old Republic. Mandalorian is one of the most critically not critically, but fan loved pieces of Star Wars since the Knights of the Old Republic or the original trilogy. I haven't met many people that don't just adore this. Now that there's things I have problems with. I think some of the episodes flow right. There were characters that there. But that's the thing that I wanted to bring up about the future of Star Wars on Disney Plus is TV is the most forgiving media. If you make a bad video game and you have glitches or there's a story plot point, you can't change it. Bad movie, you can't change it. Bad what do you call it? Album, you have a song on there, you can't change it. Those things are forever. Those things you can't change. You can't retroactively go back. You can't be like, we're gonna take Jar Jar Binks out of Phantom Menace now. He's no longer in the movie. We made a new movie. That doesn't work.
Wait, I mean, you can do stuff like that. We know McClunky, George Lucas can change things. Did you hear about that?
But I mean, it won't. It won't work though. But my point about TV shows is, if you look at Game of Thrones, is established itself as one of the greatest TV shows ever. And there are some stinkers of episodes in there. There are bad seasons.
I think you're just saying season 8, right? I think you're just saying season 8.
No, but even in season 1, season 2, there's some episodes that are good, not great. Most of those episodes are great. You go to 3, 4, there's a few more that aren't as great. 4, 5, 6, those ones have a few more, and then 7, 8 have some really. And so, and overall, I would say aren't great. And so with that, Game of Thrones will still be established as that because you can fix things. Mandalorian episode 4 or 5 wasn't great. And then it picked it back up and made some great last ones with 6, 7, 8. And so that's the route that this needs to go, because if you imagine, say, Aaron had 3 great episodes and 5, they would still renew it for a second season. And they would look at, why did these episodes people not like these episodes? Yeah. They'd look at that and then they'd say, okay, let's not do that again with season 2. And so that's the forgiveness of TV.
Yeah.
With a media, and like you said, Star Wars is so hard to unite fans. It is so hard for everyone to love something. And so if you can have a forgiveness like that, like with 8, imagine if episode 8 was 3 TV episodes instead of a movie. You would look at that and be like, okay, we're not going to do that again. And people wouldn't remember those 3 TV episodes. They would remember the 3 after that fixed all of them out.
Yeah. Though I agree with some of that, but I may disagree about how forgiving TV shows can be. Just because, like, I'm agreeing with GB Crash right here. You cannot change the Game of Thrones ending. Like, the problem with the TV series, I agree that you can turn it around if the show gets bad at some point in the middle. But the problem with the TV series is it comes down to the end. If you don't stick the landing with the TV show, I feel like you could have movies that have somewhat bad endings and still have a good movie. But then, like, TV shows, if you have a bad ending, man, you can ruin a whole show. Some people hated Lost for that ending, and Game of Thrones, that ending literally, like, I was a diehard. I would have argued to the T that Game of Thrones didn't have any bad episodes up until season 8. But season 8, literally one season, I won't watch Game of Thrones again. And I watched Game of Thrones through I watched the whole series through before every season. Like, that's how diehard of a fan was. But I wouldn't watch it again now, because that's how much it ruined it for me. And I think a lot of people are in that similar vein.
But okay, so that's the ending of a TV series. That's not the forgiveness of an entire series. I'm not arguing.
I'd agree.
So I'm saying that. So in season 2 of Game of Thrones, say they had 2-3 bad episodes in a row, people aren't going to stop watching. But it's when you have something horrible go wrong, you take a main actor out of it, or you have that 70 show is a good example of this. Mm-hmm. They took Eric Foreman away and Kelso away from the TV show, and people stopped watching. You look at The Office. Michael Scott was taken away. People stopped liking The Office.
That's true.
Game of Thrones, people will remember poorly because it ended on a poor note. Not because it was a bad TV show, but because it ended on a poor note.
Yep.
And so that's my point is, say Mandalorian episode 7 wasn't great, but 8 was, people aren't going to remember episode 7 being bad. It's where you have to be careful is beginnings and endings, but those middles, you have flexibility, especially with a season. So I'm interested to see where they go with Disney Plus. I think that I'm not a fan of, and I'm probably the only person that believes this, of I mean, I am a fan of this. I just would rather see something else than Kenobi right now, at least, because you can act.
Oh, you need to go back a second. Sorry, I lost you for a second.
That he basically was just an old hermit. So are you going to have him going on adventures, slaying things, stopping people? Like the Sith would have found out about his existence, and so that's how, especially the Inquisitors. He flashes that lightsaber once. The Inquisitors are going to be going to Tatooine to find this wizard that everybody's talking about. So I think that you have to be careful with how you do that TV show. I think that there's I think it was Otter earlier said it's an established canon. So, or maybe it was Snap. It's hard to when there's already an established canon and lore. So I would rather see them take a character like Boba Fett and do something there. Maybe do a Darth Revan from Knights of I'd even be fine with a Darth Vader doing the extermination after at Revenge of the Sith. That'd be a really dark show, so I don't think that Disney would greenlight it, but I would still really like it.